today I just want to share 10 tips for extending your battery life when it's cold outside. Okay, I'm in Parksville, BC on Vancouver Island, and it's actually about 9 degrees Celsius outside. The coldest it's got on this trip in Vancouver Island has been about -5, so it's actually not as cold as it could get, but I still discovered a few ways to stay warm and extend battery life in a camper van, and I wanted to share those. This is the biggest one so far. I started out with this Kettle, and it was drawing 87 amps for 4 minutes, and I had no idea how bad that was. And I've owned this camper van for a year now, until I got this new Kettle. It's Black & Decker rapid boil that takes 4 amps in about 2 minutes to boil 1.7 liters. Crazy. So that was my first tip. That's the first thing I learned, is test your kettle. And I actually tested with the induction stovetop, found the induction with the rival kettle was the same amperage, and I decided I would just stick with the kettle instead of actually using the stove to boil water. But this quick rapid boil is a game changer. Tip number 2, oh yeah, the electric blanket. This plugs in over there. There's the cord, and then it just goes right there and it plugs in. And I don't just use it at night. In fact, I haven't had to use it at night because my bed is super warm back here. After I pull down, see the shades there, that just gets pulled down. And then of course I put down the window blinds, so that helps. But the electric blanket is especially useful when that's my laptop, when I stand and write, and what I do is I put it on the floor and I turn it on and I plug it in, and then that way my feet keep nice and toasty warm. This has got a whole bunch of settings on it, and it draws about 5 amperages when it's on high, and then it lowers down to a few amperages. A great battery saver and a foot warmer. Tip number 3 is the heat. You can see that it's 24 degrees in the van, so it's quite warm. And I have it set when the heater comes on to be 15.5 degrees. So at about 3 a.m., I'll just reach over and turn it on. And then when I get up at 4 a.m., it's super hot in here. So I don't obviously keep it on all night. Some people do keep their heaters on all night, which I kind of think is a waste of battery, waste of propane. It doesn't actually use too much battery, but it's a waste of propane. So I would turn it on just about, I would say, even 10 minutes before you need it. Number 4 tip. Indoor boots. These things have a bit of a sole on the bottom, but I find it doesn't help because that floor, even though there's a carpet and then there's insulation underneath, it still gets super cold. So I take off the boots when I have my when I'm standing on top of my heater blanket. When I just get into the van, first thing I do is throw on my indoor boots, and that does make a huge difference. Number 5 is insulation. I just mentioned that under the carpet here there's some insulation, so we put a layer of tinfoil looking insulation, and I wish I would have brought the roll with me, because if I had brought it, I would have put it up against the door here and against the window and the back door at night, because it would help a lot with keeping the cold out and the warm in. Number 6 is my favorite besides the kettle. These curtains we got on Amazon. They go all the way down. They're the same color as the van, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is the heat. It is amazing how it holds the heat in here, and then the cold stays out there, and then if you have to, you just peek out and, see whatever you have to see. These have been beautiful. Number 7, sort of related to the booties, is clothes. So I'm wearing Thinsulate clothes. You can't really see because I'm having a hard time filming myself, but here's the shirt. And then underneath the jeans are 2 more pairs of pants. So I'm totally insulated already. So that helps. That definitely saves battery life, and it keeps me warm. Number 8 is windows. So some people are still shopping for their van. Like, should they get a Tofino or should they get another? these windows, because there's windows all around, which I love. I love being able to see everybody and everything that's going on around me, but it's a trade-off, right? So the more windows that you have, the more heat escapes, of course, and the more cold comes in. And the winter, I mean, in the summer, it gets super hot in this van. It gets like 37, 40 degrees. It's stinking hot. That's Celsius. If you don't really care about looking outside, you're more concerned about conserving the battery life and staying warm, I would get more of an enclosed van. Number 9, I'm not sure how much this works with battery life, but lighting. I just use these, I just plug this in and it's just into the USB socket there, the port. So I find that those kind of lights are more, well, they don't use battery at all, and they're better than, say, the LED. But I'm actually not sure if these LED lights that the Tofino comes with draws a lot of power. I don't think that they do, but still, I prefer having light that I can just plug into the USB. Number 10, the last tip, is to test everything. So I had tested at the first tip, I had said I had tested the induction stove versus the kettle, for which cooks fastest and uses the most power. Always test and see, because I'm learning the hard way that if you don't know until you actually test it. So that's it. 10 tips for staying warm in your camper van and extending your battery life. I hope they're helpful. If you have any suggestions or tips for me, please